Hi, folks. Well, as you can imagine, we've been getting lots of questions with this new Brace pistol ruling about ATF Rule 2021 R08F and the applicability of NFA trusts to that question. So let's really quickly go back into the old world of NFA trusts. As a lot of you know, there are three separate ways you can acquire Class II firearms. The first is to purchase it as an individual. The second would be to establish a corporation and buy it on behalf of the corporation. And the third, of course, is to set up what's called a National Firearms Act Revocable Trust, or an NFA Trust for short. Let's touch on a couple of quick reasons why the NFA Trust really should be about your only option. If you buy the item as an individual, when you pass away, and I'm sorry to tell you it's a when, not an if, when you pass away, you're causing a lot of problems for your heirs, your wife, your children, your daughter, your husband, your significant other that you live with. If you leave somebody in possession of that item when it's registered to you as an individual, you've given them a very hot potato. Yes, there is a process that ATF allows known as a Form 5 transfer incident to death tax-free that can be done, but the whole time that's being done, the whole situation leaves your heirs in limbo. They are in possession of an unregistered Title II firearm. ATF is usually pretty understanding about this, but I've had a case or two where my client was mourning for a significant period of time, a year or more, before they got around to inventorying the guns and found out there was a Title II gun in that gun safe. ATF basically wanted to know why it took so long. And that was a question that my client had to be prepared to answer that was not a really particularly fun endeavor. So avoiding that whole problem entirely, if you have your significant other listed as a co-trustee in your trust, there is no need to do a transfer because they already have ownership. If you would then like to amend the trust to make the old co-trustee the new grantor trustee, that's a really simple matter for whoever set up the trust. Again, this is one of the reasons you might want to have an attorney prepare your trust rather than do one of those kit trusts that you get on the internet because of the amendability and the ease of having somebody actually do these types of amendments for you. That's one of the reasons. The second reason you definitely want to have an NFA trust over the other two options is that it allows for what's called co-ownership. As I just said, anybody that you do significantly trust and love, and notice that I used the word trust there. Did you see what I did there? Anybody that you significantly trust can be listed as a co-trustee on the trust, and they have full access to the item just like you do. So if you're fortunate enough to have significant others that also enjoy your shooting sports, then they can share those items with you completely legally. They can take them out with their friends to go shooting anytime that they would like. And for a family that does shoot together and enjoy that sport together, that's a very, very valuable option. Last but not least, you have to talk about the good along with the bad. So let's talk about the bad, is what's known as an accidental felony. I have not yet had a client that's actually been arrested for this, but I've had clients that have been investigated for it, and it can happen, and it does happen. Let's say I go shooting in one of these wonderful hot Arizona summer days when it's 115 degrees. I use my suppressor, my SBR. I go to the range with my friends. We shoot. We have a great day. We come home. It's just too hot to even think about unloading my truck. So I just leave everything in my truck, figuring I'll unload it when the sun goes down. I go inside to have a nice Diet Coke and a shower. Meanwhile, my lovely wife decides to borrow my truck while I'm in the shower, and that works a lot better than her little teeny car to go to Costco to buy a 100-pound bag of dog food. She gets into a car crash on the way to Costco, God forbid, breaks her leg. The police call me to try to let me know what's going on, but I'm still in the shower. I don't hear the phone ring. So they go ahead and transport her to the hospital by ambulance. They impound the car. When they search the car, subsequent to that impound, they find a couple of unregistered Class II firearms in the back seat that my wife had possession of and that I allowed my wife to have possession of. We can both wind up charged with felonies there. So the NFA Trust allows you to avoid all of those situations. Yes, a corporation would also allow you to do that, but the corporation costs a lot more to set up than an NFA Trust. You have to choose officers. You have to do all the corporate filings. Unless you do an LLC, you have to do annual corporate filings. You also have to have a stat agent. That's generally going to be somebody that you have to pay each year in order to be the stat agent. Just a lot of hassles involved with the corporation that are completely disallowed with regard to the NFA Trust. Last but not least, your NFA Trust is completely confidential. There's no state organization that tracks those or publishes those. That cannot be said of corporations. Arizona has the Arizona State Corporation Commission. I'm sure most of your other states do as well. That is public record. They Google your name. They can find out that you're associated with that corporation. They do a discovery request to the corporation about its assets, and bingo, your Class 3 firearms collection is now out for everybody to see. So that's why the NFA Trust really is the cheapest, quickest, smartest alternative in all of these scenarios. Last but not least, this new Brace rule, can you still use your NFA Trust? There's been a lot of misinformation about this, but the way I read everything as of now is that if you have your braced pistols listed on the Attachment A inventory sheet of your NFA Trust prior to the date of publication of the new rule in the National Registry, then yes, the trust can actually acquire the item now, and it will be a tax-free transfer as an SBR. The key there is to make sure it's actually listed on the Attachment A of your trust, and that you can prove it was listed prior to that date of publication. What I'm going to do is list my braced pistols on attachment A of my trust, and I'm going to have a spot there for a notary to notarize the date in my signature to legally prove that those items were in fact in the trust prior to that date of publication. So I think that brings you up to speed on where we are with regard to the NFA Trust. NFA Trusts are still alive and well. They might not be quite as efficient as they were 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but they're still a heck of a lot better than the other alternatives now. So again, if you like what you saw today, go ahead and like or subscribe. If you have any questions, please forward those. Thanks for tuning in, and please stay safe.